Hi, this is Nitin Gupta, and I'm here to talk about lock pattern as my design pattern I chose for this class. So what is the intent of the lock pattern? So what is a lock pattern? Lock mechanism prevents access to a certain object or location like a password to log into your computers. Lock pattern prevents the process to have access to a certain file or object while it is being used by another process. So for programmers, lock mechanism limits access to a resource when there are many threads of execution. It is made to enforce a mutual exclusion concurrency control policy. Locks are used for software login systems, database accesses, and multiple user access to resources. So how do we implement it? We can implement lock in various ways, such as mandatory locks, semaphores, and spin lock. So what's a mandatory lock? That is when we inform the process that is trying to access the locked resource with a throw exception. So what is a semaphore method? So that will give exclusive access to locked data. And this is read-only access. So when one user is already logged in, the next user can log in, but they can only have a read-only access and not be able to write at the same time as the other user. So what's a spin lock? Spin lock can be used to make a thread wait to use a resource while it is in use. And this is great for short-term locks since it is more efficient for CPU for the process wait. So the motivation behind this lock pattern. So the reason for using a lock can be so that in a large corporation with many employees, there can be different levels of access in such a corporation. So it prevents only certain users to have a certain amount of access based on their job titles. That way, it doesn't let everyone access sensitive data in the corporation. Locks can be used to limit a user to access one account at a time so that multiple user logins cannot all write data on the database at the same time. This is very useful in institutions such as banks. So that's when one person wants to withdraw money from an account in a certain city and another person also is trying to withdraw money from the same account, and only once one bank accesses, the other bank won't be able to access the same account to withdraw money until the first bank is done using it. Lock pattern is useful to create hierarchy of users so that multiple users can use the server, but the structure of that server is controlled by one user. This helps preserve configurations of the server. Structure. So locks are implemented in many different ways based on situation, but they mostly tend to be standalone. Locks are carefully structured so that they can't be accessed by others. They can be set at design time or runtime. So in the next slide, I'm going to show you an example of how a database prevents access to multiple users at the same time. So this is a structure example of my lock pattern. So the class is lock design pattern, and the other boolean is lock user. So when a user logs in, well, it locks the user, and then so if the second user logs in, it checks to see if that account's already locked. And if it is locked, then it will throw an exception of database locked out. But if the other user logs out, then it unlocks the database so that the next user can log in. So that's what the lock user login, unlock user login, and check user login functions do. And this is how the database lock is implemented. So the sequence diagram. So the user logs in to the web page for the database, and then the database gets locked by the design pattern. And then once the database is locked, that gives user the access to the account. So now we can see an example of how this all works. So this is the web page to my database. So you can log in. So now that I'm logged in, we can enter a new name in here. So when I click save, so it saves my name and the amount of money I'm trying to store. And it'll show up here, as you can see. And then now, if I log out, then the next person can log in. But if another person tries to log in, I'm already logged in. So we'll try to open a new one. So let's try a different account. As you can see, it says the database is locked out because I'm already logged in. So what we can do is by logging out right now, and then now let's reload it, and then now Let's try to log in with the new user. Yeah, we're logged in now. And that's how the database implements the lock-in procedure when multiple users are trying to log in at the same time. And now this is the database view that you saw before on the web page, which has the first name, the last name, and the amount of money someone wants to enter, and then it stores it in the table, shows you all the accounts and the consequences. Database lock in this case prevents a second user from accessing the same database by locking it. The consequence of such a thing is that if other users want to access it at the same time for something quicker than the first user, then what do? They have to wait the entire time until the first user is done. The solution could be that a database can be set up with different permission levels, but if a user is already logged into a certain account, the second user can log in, but they'll only read access and not write access. That way, two users are not trying to change the same record that's stored in the database. You can also set up a time limit for a user such that the user is logged in and is idle for a certain amount of time, then the database automatically kicks them out so that a second user can log in. This way, if a user forgets to log out or has some error entry on while they're logged in and they forget to log out, then it automatically kicks them out. So something else, overhead. There's a chance of collision for a single resource. It's pretty rare in most cases, right? Because if two users are trying to log in or trying to change the same thing at the same time. So that's one of the consequences. And then another thing is that debugging will be harder to do with a lock pattern, and it will be very hard to replicate because you can't truly find the exact cause of why something's getting locked out or someone's getting unlocked out. And it can also lead to deadlocks. So what are deadlocks? Deadlocks lead to a lock of a processor thread and prevents others to use that process. The process is waiting for another process to unlock it, and the other process is waiting for another process to unlock it, and that process is waiting for the first process to unlock it. So they're all waiting on each other to unlock each other. Then they're stuck in a deadlock since none of them can unlock each other because they're all locked out. And that's what a deadlock is. And I hope you learned a lot.